Namaste and good evening. We'll start our class with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So far, what we had done was till class 10th, we had covered Balakanda, and today starts the new chapter. So Balakanda is, Bala means childhood. So this chapter, as we saw in the last 10 classes, it is describing the causes of Lord Rama's birth. There is also a story of Lord Shiva when he is telling to Parvati. There are many stories which are told because of which Lord takes the birth as human being. Then it describes the birth of Lord Rama, his childhood, his going to protect the fire ceremony of Sage Vishwamitra, learning many new weapons from him, and then breaking the bow, Lord Shiva's bow, to marry Sita and come back to Ayodhya, and everybody is happy. So Balakanda is a very happy chapter. Like the birth of Lord Rama is so joyous, then his marriage, his learning, his childhood play, and so everywhere there is a lot of joy. And just like in any story we have, it's always a mixture of joy and pain, joy and sorrow. So now we will see some of the change in the tidings in Ayodhya Kanda. Ayodhya is the name of the city where Lord Rama is born. So Ayodhya Kanda means the incidents happening in Ayodhya, and those are a little bit politics and conspiracy involved there. So we'll see those incidents there. Today we start the class 11 with Ayodhya Kanda. So just to have the same kind of continuation, even though this verse is from Ayodhya Kanda, but continuation from the previous chapter. जब ते राम ब्याहि घर आए, नित नव मंगल मोद बधाए, भुवन चारि दस भूधर भारी, सुकृत मेघ बरषहि सुख बारी. So from the time Lord Rama came, every day was as if a new festival. Everybody is happy, the whole city, everybody is celebrating. Then one day, King Dasharatha, he sees himself in the mirror and he sees white hairs. And he realizes that old is approaching. And also, Rama is grown up. He is already helping Dasharatha in all the duties of the kingdom, administration and other things, meeting with the people, taking care of the people. And Rama is the eldest son. It was a tradition that the eldest son becomes the king after father. So Lord Dasharatha thought this is the time. Let Rama be officially designated as the Prince Regent Prince so that he can take over once I either retire or die. He can become the king. So he goes to his guru to ask his advice and his blessings. Guru Vasishtha is very happy hearing this proposal. And then he says that there is no need to delay, because Dasharatha asks, what is the good time? I mean, what is in India, all the important events, they are done as per the astrological chart, whether that is showing the favorable chart or not. So here he is saying that don't worry about it, because you don't need to delay on account of that. That day indeed is the auspicious when Rama becomes Prince Regent, and you can do it tomorrow. And it was like king had gone in the morning to the guru, so it's next day he's suggesting that it can be done tomorrow also, if you can make all the preparations. Tomorrow is also a good day. So king was very happy, and he said, absolutely, that can be done. You give me a list of the things, and Guru Vasishtha gives a list of the things to be prepared, and king arranges all those things. He asks his ministers, and when slowly the news spreads everywhere, and everybody who hears about it is extremely happy, extremely jubilant, because everybody was looking forward to this day when Rama becomes officially designated as the successor to Dasharatha. Because Rama was taking care of the people in such a beautiful manner that everybody became extremely happy when they heard this proposal from Dasharatha. So everywhere there are celebrations going on, preparations for Rama's coronation is going on. Then the gods in the heaven, they got worried. Why did they get worried? They got worried because if Rama becomes king and he remains in Ayodhya, who will kill Ravana? Because they had requested Lord to take birth to kill Ravana. And if Lord Rama just stays in Ayodhya, there may not come any opportunity for confrontation with Ravana. And why would then Lord Rama will kill Ravana, and how will it happen? So in their minds, Lord Rama has to be exiled to the forest. When he goes to the forest, he will see some sufferings of saints and sages, and then he will come in the contact with the demons sent by Ravana and eventually Ravana. That was their idea. So how to stop this? How to stop this coronation? That was their thought. So they invoked Goddess Saraswati. Goddess Saraswati is the goddess of speech as well as the intellect. So they requested her that you go and change the intellect and the words of some people, somebody, because of which we can stop this coronation. And Rama be exiled into forest. When Saraswati heard this proposal, Goddess Saraswati heard this proposal, she felt a little bit upset because everybody is so happy, everybody is celebrating, and all of a sudden you do something that it will just create a huge chaos. So she wasn't very willing, but then God said, look, Lord Rama is the Lord. He is beyond any happiness and suffering. And he has come to the earth for this purpose. So please do that. That is in the order of the things if you do that. So Goddess Saraswati finally agreed, and to find a person who is a little bit unstable mind, because to that person it is much easier to change their way of thinking, intellect, as well as the words. So she found one such person. Her name was Manthara. Manthara was the maid servant of Kaikeyi. If you remember, Kaikeyi, the third queen of Dasharatha, Manthara is maid servant, and she is maid servant of Kaikeyi since childhood. So she was the maid servant at her maternal house, and then when she got married and came to Ayodhya, to Dasharatha, Manthara came with her. So this is the verse here. Nam Manthara Mandamati Cheri Kaikeyi ke Ajas Petari Tahi Kar Gayi Gira Mati Fe. So Goddess Saraswati came and changed her mind, changed her words. So when Manthara now, she goes out on the streets and she sees all these celebrations going on because Lord Rama is to be coronated tomorrow. And she is like, what's happening? What's going on? And when she found out it is because all these celebrations are happening because of Lord Rama's coronation tomorrow, she felt a strange sensation of huge dislike towards this event, that this is not right. What is happening is not right. It should not happen. It will not be good for my mistress Kaikeyi. So she got so perturbed, Manthara, and she was in such a mood that somehow I have to stop it. And all that thing in her mind, she goes to Kaikeyi's palace. And then Kaikeyi looks at her and smiles and says, oh, come. How are you? How are you doing? Tell me what, do you need anything? So Manthara says, well, you have been just sleeping here happily, not knowing anything what is happening outside. So many things are happening which will just create a devastation for you. And you are so like living so innocently. And Kaikeyi said, what happened? And then she says that all these preparations, celebrations are happening for Rama's coronation. And I'm thinking about you, like what will happen to you and your son Bharata. So incidentally at that time, Bharata and Shatrughna. So if you know the four brothers, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna. So Bharata and Shatrughna, they were together generally, and Rama and Lakshmana, they were together. Even though all the three younger brothers were deeply devoted to Rama. So Bharata and Shatrughna, they had gone to Kaikeyi's maternal place. They had been called from there, so it was just as a tradition. Sometimes children will go to their mother's maternal place to spend some time. So they were not in Ayodhya. So Manthara said, in the absence of Bharata, such a thing is happening, and I'm not sure what good will it come out for you in this. When Kaikeyi heard that, and Manthara is saying that it is all a plot against you. and you don't understand it. When Kaikeyi heard this, Kaikeyi loved Lord Rama a lot, just like everybody else. And she says, she scolds Manthara, that what has happened to you? If what you are saying is correct, that Lord Rama is going to be coronated tomorrow, it's a very happy occasion for me. Why should I be worried about it? In fact, if it comes true, I'll give you any reward you seek. And then she scolds her a little bit sternly that you are trying to create a split in the family here. You are trying to sow a discord. Never make such kind of attempt, because otherwise I'll punish you severely. When Manthara heard that, she starts crying. She says, I just came for your own good, and you don't even understand. On the other hand, you are basically talking of punishing me. How there are not many people who can speak truth. If that's what you want, that people should just say the things pleasant to you all the time, then okay, I'll keep doing that. Why should I then worry about? Because this is a very popular verse in Manas. Kounrap ho hamahika hani cheri chhada ho ki rani. So just the first part is very popular in the, like, used as an idiom. It means whoever may be the ruler, what is that to me? I lose nothing thereby. It shows that in earlier times, people were not so concerned. Their day-to-day lives were not so disturbed, irrespective of who the ruler is, the general public. So they were not. So she is saying that whether Rama becomes the king or Bharata becomes king, what does it matter to me? I'll remain as a servant only. I will not become like a queen. So Manthara is saying. But I feel pain in my heart when I think of you, that what will happen to you. And then she says that this whole idea that Bharata should not be here, that is the scheme of Kaushalya. Because she is your co-wife, and she knows that king loves you the most. And she wants to again get hold of the king and the kingdom, therefore. So she made sure that Bharata is not in the kingdom, and then this thing is happening in the absence of Bharata. And even you did not know so far. This thing has, and she says, this thing has been going on for last 2 weeks, and nobody even told you. Now I'm telling you this thing. So when Kaikeyi heard that, she was always a little bit suspicious about being under the influence of a co-wife. She never liked that there should be somebody who should be king pay more attention than her. She never liked that thought. She always wanted to be the queen who king loves the most and have the king under her thumb, so to speak. And king used to love her most because she was most beautiful, younger, and king would spend most of the nights in her palace. So naturally she had more influence with the king, and she never could think that Kaushalya would have more influence, and Kaushalya would then try to put her in a sort of unfavorable situation. So when she heard this kind of logic from Manthara, she starts getting a little worried. And she says, Manthara, I see what you are saying. I see that it is not good for me, and I see it is the plot of Kaushalya. And you are right, I am so innocent that I don't see the things in this manner. But at this time, tomorrow, this is going to happen. What can be done? So Manthara, now when she sees that queen is under her influence, she starts again drawing a very bleak picture for her and says a few more stories from the past where the co-wives, the differences between co-wives, how it went against one person. And she says that, look, either Kaushalya, when Rama becomes the king, either you have to leave the kingdom, Kaushalya would make sure that you and Bharata are exiled into the forest, or you have to remain as a servant to Kaushalya. And Kaikeyi, when she heard that, she just couldn't tolerate it. And she said, Manthara, I am now you are my only support. You are my only person who thinks of my well-being. I'll do whatever you suggest. Please suggest some idea. Do you have any idea that how it can be averted, this crisis can be averted? When Manthara finally saw that, okay, Queen is completely under her control, she is listening to her, and she says, well, when I gave you some suggestion earlier, you were bent upon punishing me. So I'm afraid, like, what will I do? What will you do to me if I suggest you something? And then Kaikeyi says, you don't need to worry on any account. I can even give up my life instead of being servant to Kaushalya. Whatever you say, I'll do it. So then she suggests this strategy. दुई बरदान भूप सन थाती, मांगहु आज जुड़ा बहु छाती, सुतहि राजु राम ही वन बासु, देहु लेहु सब सबति हुलासु, भूपति राम सपथ जब करई, तब मांगे हु जहि बचन न टरई. So she tells Kaikeyi, Manthara tells Kaikeyi that, look, you are not so helpless as you are feeling. You have a certain power over the king, and you can utilize that. What you can do is, you remember in the past you told me that king had given you promise to give 2 boons. And at that time you had not asked those boons. That today is the occasion. You can ask king those 2 boons. So the story is like this. Once upon a time, in the very old times, Dasharath had gone to fight a battle. Kaikeyi was also on his chariot. It so happened that Dasharatha fainted because he got hit by an arrow. So he fainted. And he could have died in that battle, but Kaikeyi took the control of the chariot and takes Dasharatha out of harm's way. When Dasharatha came to know about it, he said that, look, you have done such a favor to me, you have saved my life, I am indebted to you, and I'll give you 2 boons in lieu of that. Any 2 things you can ask for. And Kaikeyi, when she heard that, she said, look, I have everything given by you, so I don't need anything. And when Dasharatha insists, she says, okay, I cannot think of anything right now. Let it be in sort of a bank account kind of thing. And I'll encash them whenever the time arises. And Dasharatha says, okay. So this is the story when Manthara reminds Kaikeyi that, look, you have this opportunity to ask for 2 boons. And what are the 2 boons you ask? One, you ask the kingdom for your son, Bharat, not for Rama. So instead of Rama, you ask kingdom for Bharata. And as the second boon, you ask the exile for Lord Rama, that he should go to forest for 14 years. When you do this, then people will understand that you also know how to take care of your own interests, and Kaushalya would really learn a lesson. But even though you have those 2 boons and king has promised it, but ask them only when king has taken that a vow that he will not go back on his words Only when he swears by Rama, by the name of Rama, then only you ask this, so that he does not go back on his words. So right now what you do, she suggests to Kaikeyi that you just go to a sulking room. So strangely, in those earlier times, there were sulking rooms. There were rooms when if somebody is upset, somebody is angry, they can go to that room, and then somebody will come and try to please you, try to fulfill your demands. So that's what Kaikeyi did. Kaikeyi removed all his good jewelry, wore some old cloth, he shaveled hair, and she goes and lies down into this sulking room. Gopa Bhavana, that's how it was called. And then here Tulsidas ji is saying, Kona kusangat pai na sai. Man loses his bit by following the counsel of wild men. So who is there who is not affected by a bad company? If you remember, Gurudev used to say, good company makes you good, bad company makes you bad. Kaikeyi gave the importance to Manthara, and as a result, she herself got manipulated by Manthara. And she is going to start this thing in. So when king is coming in the night to spend the night, generally he would go to Kaikeyi. And today especially, because he wanted to give this news to Kaikeyi, which he knew will make Kaikeyi very happy, because Kaikeyi loved Lord Rama like anything. So he was pretty sure that he will have this good news to share with Kaikeyi, so he wanted to be the one who breaks this news to Kaikeyi. So he's coming there in the night, in the evening, late evening. And when he does not see Kaikeyi, he asks about her, that where is she? And somebody told she is in the sulking room. And he became a little bit worried that what happened? How come Kaikeyi is in sulking room? So here is a verse by Tulsidas. भय बस अगुहुड़ परई न पाऊ, सुरपति बसई बाह बल जाके, नरपति सकल रहहि रुख ताके, सो सुनिति अरिस गयउ सुखाई, देखहु काम प्रताप बढ़ाई, सूल कुलिस असि अंग वनहारे, तेरति नाथ सुमन सर मारे, यद्यपि नीति निपुण नर नाहु, नारी चरित जल निधि अवगाहु. So king became a bit anxious when he heard that she is in the sulking room. And then here the poet is describing that look at the mighty power of the passionate love. Even those who have endured the blows of a spear, thunderbolt or sword have been overcome with the flowery shafts of passionate love. So even though king was very skilled in statesmanship, the poet is saying the ways of a woman are like an unfathomable ocean. So anyway, king goes into sulking room. Kaikeyi doesn't speak to him, doesn't look at him. And then king bends down, touches her, and she removes his arm. And then he says, what happened? How come you are here? I'm so surprised. Tell me, what can I do for you? Did somebody do anything wrong to you? I'll make sure that that person goes to the death immediately. Anybody who has done anything wrong to you, he will be punished with death sentence or any other sentence you like. Or if you want to reward somebody, just tell me, whatever reward you want, I can reward anybody anything. I cannot see you in this position in the sulking room. You have to be your regular self and natural self, that jolly, the happy, and I have a, and I'll tell you that I'll do whatever you want, and I swear by Rama, he says. That I'll. So when she hears that, when she hears that, now she realizes that okay, this is the time she can make sure that her demands are met. Then she sits up, smiles a little bit, and says, "Look, you are saying you can ask anything, but you remember you had given me those 2 boons long time ago, and you have never fulfilled those boons." And Dasharatha then remembered that story, and he said, "Yes, but you at that time you did not ask, and I also forgot about it later on, and you never asked about it. What do you talk of 2 boons? You ask 4 boons today. I'll give whatever you want." And then he says this thing. This is a beautiful verse. This shows the importance of truth in one's life. Raghukul riti sada chale aayi, pran jahu baru bachan na jai, nahi asatya sampatak punja, giri sam hohi ki kotik gunja, satya mool sab sukrut suhaye, वेद पुराण विदित मन गाए, तेहि पर राम सपथि करे आई, सुकृत सनेह अवधि रघुराई. So he is saying that it has always been the rule in our clan that when we say a word, we would rather give up our life than go back on our word, because there is no other sin which can match a lie. Like other sins, he is comparing like some tiny seeds. There is some seed called gunja seeds. So he's saying, and the telling a lie is like a mountain. So he's saying, can the millions of gunja seeds ever stand comparison with the mountain? Means to tell a lie is such a huge sin that all other sins together will not stand to it. So that is the importance. Dasharatha again tells her that when I have given you a word that I'll give you 2 boons, consider it as done, because for me, giving up my life is easier or more preferable than going back on my word. So when she hears that, and she now sits properly and she asks, okay, these are my 2 boons. One, instead of Rama's coronation, as it is going to happen tomorrow morning, let my son Bharata be coronated. Let he become your successor. And as the second boon, let Lord Rama be exiled into forest for 14 years. When Dasharatha heard these demands of Kaikeyi, he just couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't believe that Kaikeyi could ask such a thing. He just stunned. And first he is trying to gaze whether Kaikeyi is just joking or she means it. And Kaikeyi very much showed that she means it. She is not joking. She really means it. Dasharatha is immediately his face became pale. He became very weak. And he said, look, I'm finding it very difficult. What has happened to you? And Kaikeyi just shoves him away and says, look, I don't want any of those things. You have promised. Either you say that I will not fulfill my promise, and then you face the consequences thereof, or you just make sure that tomorrow morning Rama goes to forest and Bharata is coronated. So Dasharatha says, look, the first boon which you asked, Bharata's coronation instead of Rama, that I can fulfill without much of a problem. In fact, just I was following the tradition that the eldest son becomes the king. But that's not such a big deal. Rama will never mind. Rama will be happy actually to see Bharata as being coronated. And so that is fine, that I can do. It's the second boon which you have asked, that Rama going to forest. That, why are you asking? Rama loves you so much. Why are you asking for his exile? And you know that my life depends upon Rama. I will not survive if Rama is taken away from me. So you will see my death. And Keke basically just said that, look, I am not here to hear any of these things. I know this is all Kaushalya's plot, and she will learn a lesson. And Dasharatha says, look, it has nothing to do with Kaushalya. And Keke does not relent, because Manthara had told her, look, king will plead with you. You make sure that you stay firm. And she stays firm. King even goes to the extent that he falls down at her feet, which is considered a little strange, because it is normally a wife's duty that she touches the feet of her husband. In the traditional Vedic culture, husband is considered like as a god to wife. So a husband touching the feet of wife will be as if a very bad omen for wife. And no wife would tolerate it, at least in those times. But Keke does not budge. She does not budge from her request or from her demand. And she says here that if Rama does not go in the morning to the forest, assuming the garb of a hermit, consider that I will commit suicide, and you will get all the ill repute for telling a lie, for going back on your words. You yourself said that for the person of truth, nothing matters, whether it's son, wife, or life itself, or the kingdom, or the life itself. So when king heard that, he is just completely gone. He fainted. He could not sleep the whole night. In between, he would gain some consciousness. He will remember Rama, and he just not in his senses at all. Normally, king would get up earlier in the morning, and this particular day, because Lord Rama's coronation was supposed to take place as per the earlier plan, everybody is waiting for him to get up even earlier and start organizing the whole ceremony. So king had a minister, his name is Sumantra. He was wondering what has happened, that king has not gotten up, it has been already late. So he decided to go and wake up the king. So he went to palace of Keke. He inquired about where Dasharatha is. He was there. And then he goes into that room. When he goes there and he sees the condition of Dasharatha and Keke sitting there, he understood that something is terribly wrong. He got a shock of his life. And king is not in a position to speak. He is faint almost. And then he asks Keke, what happened? What happened to the king? And Keke says, look, for some reason I do not know, only God knows, but for some reason king could not sleep in the night. He had a fitful sleep. He would just say Ram Ram. In between he will remember his son, and he did not tell me anything in particular. So that's what Keke tells him. Sumantra understands that something is terribly wrong. He could sense that things are not as usual self. So Keke says, look, you do one thing, you bring Rama here. You call Rama here. So Sumantra decides, okay, let me go and get Rama. So he goes to Lord Rama's palace. Lord Rama has getting ready to prepare for all the ceremonies which are to be followed since morning for his coronation. So he is kind of in a not a very prepared state. But when he heard that king is calling him and he has to go, he immediately just left, just the condition he was in. And when he reached there, he was quite shocked to see the condition of his father. And Keke is sitting like he perceived as if an old elephant has dropped down in the terror at the sight of a lioness. So he asks Keke, "Oh mother, what happened? Why my father is in such a miserable state? You should know." So Keke then tells, "Look, it is not such a big deal. What had happened was that he asked me to give these two boons. And I asked these two boons. The kingdom instead of you, I asked the kingdom for Bharat. And in the second boon, I asked the exile for you for 14 years. For some reason, king is so much attached to you that he could not tolerate these two boons. And he is in a fix now. On the one hand, he does not want to go back on his word. On the other hand, he does not want to tell you to go to forest to make to forest. Well, Lord Ram, and then she says, "Look, you are his dear son. It is your duty to make sure that father's words are not false. They do so. As a son, it is your duty also." So when Rama heard this, it did not take even him a moment. He immediately understood his position and his duty. And he smiles within. And as he is the abode of all joy, he just said in a very natural manner, without any bitterness on his part. He said, "Look, oh mother, indeed that son is very fortunate who follows the words of his parents. For me, Bharata is dearer to me than my life. So I am so happy that he will be becoming the king. And for me, if I do not go to forest, even when all these things are there, I would be the fool among the first among the fools." It seems that Lord has really fulfilled my desires today and given me such wonderful opportunity, because when I go to forest, I'll see the saints and sages. I'll have some opportunity to meditate, to have their company. What beautiful, what more wonderful for me it could be that Bharata would become king and I will go to forest. I do not see any such big deal about it. But this does not seem to be the only reason why king is in such a state. There may be something more. Can you please tell me? And then when Kaikeyi heard that, she felt a little assured in her heart that Rama will go to forest. So she says, no, Rama, you have not done anything wrong. Everybody knows about you. It's just this much only, nothing more, that king is in this state. So then Rama wakes up the king. King, when he sees Rama before him, he wakes up, gets up, and he starts crying. Holding Rama, he starts crying. And he is praying in his heart to Lord that you make the mind of Rama that he does not obey me. So this is a strange thing. King cannot bring himself to tell Rama that do not go to forest, because that would be going back on his word. What he is praying instead, that may Lord Rama not obey me, so that he stays at home and does not go to forest. But that does not happen, of course. So Rama tries to console the king and says, look, just a matter of 14 years, I'll come very quickly. Please give me your blessings. And for me, it's a wonderful opportunity. So with this, he comes, and because he had to leave the same morning, he has to take the permission from his mother also. So he comes to his mother, Kaushalya. Kaushalya has no inkling of these things. But the moment when Rama comes out, the news spreads in the public, and everybody starts abusing Kaikeyi. They could not believe that somebody could do such a thing. So anyway, Rama goes to Kaushalya. Kaushalya did not know by then. So Rama says, look, then first Kaushalya says, oh, you are here, but you have to get ready and make sure your coronation is there, and so many things are there. Please take some small light meal and then get yourself ready. And Rama says, oh mother, I have come to tell you that Father has given me the kingdom of forest instead of Ayodhya. He puts in these words. He has given me the kingdom of forest instead of Ayodhya. And then he tells the story about it, that what happened, what Kaikeyi asked for those two boons. Kaushalya was shocked. She was almost fainting, hearing that Rama will be going to forest. And she says, I do not know what to say. You have to uphold father's words. And indeed, as a son, it is your duty to follow father's words. But for me, I do not know how will I live without you. And if I tell you that take me with you, that will become a very difficult proposition for you. If I say stay here, that also will not be the right thing to do. She says that if it were only father's words, because mother is considered superior to father, I could have given you the order that no, you do not go to forest. But in this case, both your father and mother, she is referring to Kaikeyi, because Rama would consider Kaikeyi also as his mother. It is the order from both of them. So therefore, I cannot stop you. Should not stop you. And she says that instead of the kingdom, king is giving you the forest, sending you into the forest. That is painful, but more than that, I am concerned about that without you, the king, the Bharata, and the whole people, and myself, we will be so much pain in your absence. So much sorrow and suffering are in store for Ayodhya. And then she gives a lot, and then she says, okay, please go. And then she gives a lot of blessings to Rama. One of the most beautiful blessings, she says, Rama, because those times going to forest was not like going on a picnic. It was real forest. People, when they were sent into exile, many a times they will not come back. So she says that, oh Rama, the dharma which you have followed all your life so meticulously, let that dharma protect you. And she gives a lot of other blessings to him. And then Sita hears about it, that Rama will be going to forest. She is trembling and she comes there. So right now we will see in the next class the Sita and Lakshmana and other people who wanted to, how Rama goes to forest. So we'll cover that in the next class. So any questions, comments, please feel free to ask him. If there are no questions, comments, then we'll close the class with the prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all.